have a long introduction, an extremely long introduction, but because of time and Selma needs to leave at 7 o'clock, I'm going to dispense with that. What I do want to do actually is introduce you to my co-host here, Amika. So if you give her a round of applause. Just very quickly, we know why we're here. We are Friends of Nello James and we are campaigning to stop the sale of Nello James, to save Nello James and to make sure that that resource stays in the hands of the community. Today we have the pleasure and we'd like to thank Selma James for accepting our invitation to come and speak to us here today, but also as well for supporting the campaign to save Nello James. Before Anika speaks, I do want to pay a special tribute to one woman in particular who, like most of us in here, saw the sale signs go up for Nello James. But unlike the rest of us, this particular person actually took up the initiative to start this campaign. And Anika is going to present Blue Mason Matthews. All right? Okay.
Thank you. Oh, if you could just look.
You are.
We are here today to acknowledge and thank Selma James for her support for the campaign to stop the sale of Nello James. We, the Friends of Nello James, would also like to thank everyone who has worked hard on the campaign so far. We also hope and will work hard to ensure that the campaign is successful. Before we hear from Selma, we have a number of items on the agenda. The first person we will hear from is Angel.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to speak through a small excerpt from Selma's book called Sex, Race and Class. So I'm going to start off with a small excerpt that speaks about culture. I thought it was pertinent today, so I'm going to speak on that. The lifestyle unique to themselves which a people develop once they are enmeshed by capitalism, in response to and in rebellion against it, cannot be understood at all except as the totality of their capitalist lives. To delimit culture is to reduce it to a decoration of daily life. Culture is plays and poetry about the exploited, ceasing to wear miniskirts and taking to trousers instead, the clash between the soul of black baptism and the guilt and sin of white Protestantism. Culture is also the shrill of the alarm clock that rings at 6 a.m. when a black woman in London wakes her children to get them ready for the baby minder. Culture is how cold she feels at the bus stop and then how hot in the crowded bus. Culture is how you feel on a Monday morning at 8 when you clock in wishing it was Friday, wishing your life away. Culture is the speed of the line or the weight and the smell of dirty hospital sheets. And you meanwhile thinking, what to make for tea that night? Culture is making the tea whilst your man watches the news on the telly. And culture is an irrational woman walking out of the kitchen into the sitting room and without a word turning off the telly for no reason at all. And I'm just going to end with this. This is the preface, and it says, nothing unified and revolutionary will be formed until each section of the exploited will have made its own autonomous power felt. Thank you. Thank you so much.
16.8 FB. I have recently been in touch with your colleague in relation to the Nello James Centre in Manchester. I am a member of the local community, having lived and grown in the area, and I am in the early stages of setting up a community food bank foundation. Our intention is to address and meet the needs of the local community in these testing times of austerity. In doing so, I sought to try and find a permanent location within the community to set up the Food Bank Foundation. I began to research the Nello James Centre and the intended purpose of the gifted building from the acclaimed actress Vanessa Redgrave in the name of your husband, the great CLR James. I made an astonishing discovery, given I had no idea a great historian and well-respected political activist had direct links to my local community. However, the gifted community centre has now been left unused and derelict for a number of years. For your urgent attention, I have enclosed photographs in the background report which clearly shows the degradation of the site. It seems such a waste of a fabulous resource which was donated by Vanessa Redgrave in the 1970s for the sole purpose of benefiting the community. Given your husband's great works and his significant contribution to education and social change, amongst others, I found it astonishing that a centre dedicated to CLR James would be utterly wasted, not only dishonouring the purpose of the generous gift to our community, but also dishonouring the great name of CLR James. To further compound the obvious defecation of the building and land, it is now up for sale. See estate agent's brochure enclosed. This disturbing news comes as a great surprise and a huge disappointment to both myself and the fellow members of the community, as no form of public consultation was conducted by the trustees. Today, for many years, the community have tried in vain to communicate with the trustees in order to establish their plans of reviving the building for the community in order to serve its original purpose. This has been a major concern to us as we have been constantly left in the dark. I wish to also inform you of the current situation in relation to the sale of the Nello James Centre, as upon inspecting the However, given that the Nello James Centre was gifted to benefit the community and based on the fact that there is a trust in place, I felt it very necessary to ensure you were made aware. I have also informed Vanessa Redgrave's agent, who stipulated their much interest in the same. I, along with many other community beneficiaries of the trust, are hoping that the centre will be revived and brought back to life again, and not sold off to property developers. I would assume, in knowing that your prolific life's work has involved the betterment of women and people of colour globally, you will understand my concerns. Given the fact that a wasted resource of this nature with huge historical importance for future generations has indeed been left to decay, I cannot conceive the notion that the latter would have been the intentions of great and honourable philanthropists such as yourself, CLR James and Miss Redgrave. If you would like any further information, I would gladly help in turn, would hope for the clarification as to why a resource of this nature is being sold off with the obvious permission of its trustees. Please also read the extra information provided, and I would like to hear from you at your earliest. Yours faithfully, Leighton Dunn, Trust Beneficiary. Okay, due to time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read a bit about CLR James, but I think we're going to leave that for another time, another community meeting, where we can specifically deal with the history about Nello James Centre, about CLR James herself, about Selma, and we'll take it from there. Selma, I want to ask you to take the stage, please.
First of all, I must thank you from the bottom of my heart for your hosting me at this event and at the other venue where we had a look at the Nello James Centre. I'm extremely grateful to you, and I'm extremely grateful that you have taken me to your heart as I have taken you. I didn't know that I would be so moved, especially after that delicious meal with the fish cake. I see that you had a property, you had a place to meet, you had a place to entertain yourselves and to see about your children and to give them some space. And I see that you've been deprived of that space, and that is very unjust. And I think that we have to move together to get that space back. Now, I'm hopeful. I don't know anything about what the legal position is. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to find out. And we do have a free legal service at our Women's Centre, and we will put that at the disposal of your movement to get the centre back. I know that women of colour in the Global Women's Strike, as well as the whole of Crossroads Women's Centre, will agree with what I am saying. I say it with certainty that I will be back with all the women and by all the women and the men at the centre. But I think we have to take into account at this moment in time where we are at in the world. We went through a very dark patch. That's when the centre, your centre, was neglected and became derelict. But our movement for justice suffered in that way. It became derelict. We did not have the strength that we had had before, and that we needed to defend ourselves and our families. We did not have it. But that is beginning to change. And now, for example, one of the councillors is Greek, and I was able to say what wonderful things are happening in Greece. You know that there is a party in government which is against the austerity. And that means that all of us are in a somewhat different position from what we have been. We have a chance to get ourselves together. We have a chance to establish what our principles are. We have a chance to find leadership which is accountable or be thrown out. Very, very important. People have taken advantage of our movements to make careers for themselves without any reference to the community. That has happened to women, it has happened to immigrants, it has happened to asylum seekers, it has happened to working class people generally. It has happened to all of us in whatever movements we were involved in, movements for justice. They have taken advantage of our movement to move themselves ahead and push us down. That period is over. I'm very glad to see so many sisters here, not only because the food was very good, but because the struggle is very good. And I know the struggle will not be good if the sisters were not here and were not active and were not urging and were not giving leadership to the whole community as women always do. And I'm very glad to see that the children are integral to the movement. Well for them to go to school and learn reading, writing and arithmetic, but the important thing is to learn from the movement for change, for justice, for rights for all. And that can only happen in the way that I was trained, trailing along as a little child with my father who was fighting for trade unions, and my mother who was fighting for tenants who were put out on the street with their furniture because they could not pay their rent in the 30s. And it was a good, solid, working class, anti-racist, anti-sexist education that I got, for which I have never ceased to be grateful for my parents and for the movement. And when I see the children here, I know that that's the kind of education they are getting. And that means that in their schools they will demand their rights. And they need to demand their rights in the schools. We are not sending our children to be educated and taking all the blows that the white racists would like to impose on us. We are putting them in a position where they can fight. And I just want to say one final thing. Because our parents and our grandparents thought if we learned book, we would succeed. And they made us learn book, all of us. But we know that the schools are not only the places I've just described, to learn, get education. We want our children not only to rise out of poverty. We want our children to abolish poverty with us. I feel that what you are doing here deserves and commands the support of all right-thinking people, and I promise you that I will do what I can. By the way, who chose that quote from the Sex, Race and Class?
This lady here.
Who chose the best piece?
On behalf of the Friends of Nello James and the community, I would like to thank you and present you with this gift.
We also have a second gift here as well. Leighton Dunn is from our community and is a researcher. Anytime Leighton speaks on anything, he brings out books and everything else and stuff. And Leighton has produced the local community members protesting outside the Nello James Centre Friday the 6th of March 2015. And he's also produced Save the Nello James public community meeting held at the West Indian Centre, Westwood Street, Moss Side, Thursday the 5th of March 2015. Leighton has produced these, but he also wants to present it to Selma James. But what he wants us to do as a community is to sign and to sign these books, and then after we will send them on to Selma James. That once we, the community, and I think that Leighton understands the importance of making sure that our history is documented, because a lot of us, our parents, our grandparents, and their parents. A lot of history, a lot of experience, and it's not been documented. And we need to make sure that these stories, these campaigns, that we put them down in writing, so that not only for for our benefit, but for the benefit of our children, so we can teach them how to campaign and become activists. Yeah. And now I'm going to hand over the microphone to Remy, who's going to give us a quick update as to how the campaign is going. Thank you.
I don't know about update, more like a nervous date for me. But let me get myself together. Well, we're honoured and pleasure to have you here, Selma. You know, it's been a long, hard drive for us. It's not been easy at all. And like I said, Brother Leighton has been a vital instrument in the campaign. You know, his writings and his research has been second to none. I've never seen nobody come with such a big bundle since the days when I was a little bad boy in court and the barrister was there with his papers. What? Pardon me, sorry. I don't wash my dirty laundry. Well, anyway, that's the history of me. I ain't trying to be an angel out here, but the truth is that you people being here today is testimony to what community means. Community is a thing in my dictionary. You want to shout? I don't want to shout. My voice has gone through the campaigning, the demonstrating.
The mic away from your mouth.
Okay, sorry. I'm not trying to be a singer or anything. I'm just trying to amplify my voice in there. But the truth of the reality is this situation is this. Community, in my dictionary, means this. This is my dictionary version of it. You have to get yourself a copy of Remain's dictionary. You know, you better understand how I speak. Community is come and unity together, yeah? So we come together and we have unity. And this makes community. Yeah? It's a great word. Come to unity. Community. Now, we're honoured and pleased to have Selma here. Also, all you members of the community. And we're happy to have you councillors here. It's been a long time, but you're here. You know, we expected to see you a little sooner, but it's better late than never, as they say. You know, it's a hard road. And for me, Nello James Centre is a serious part of our history in this area. I spent some very pleasurable times at 10, 11, 12, 13 years of age in Nello James Centre. The old nursery, I remember it when it was functional. I also remember those little Wendy houses they used to have in the backyard. I don't know if anybody here remembers that. I'm sure some of you do. I mean, I had some very delightful moments in there and some discoveries that, you know, as a young child, you're growing up, you have these things. This is a natural thing. We're only human. God created us in a certain manner. I'm not trying to say to you that I did something naughty in there. I was too young. You know, but I'm just saying, you know, it was the start of young people growing up, and this is what it's about. Nello James Centre is about young people growing up, and growing them up and nurturing them, and having them in good, you know, condition, and to show them the way forward to be able to, you know, articulate themselves and be the people that they're supposed to be, without being depressed or, you know, socially excluded from what's going on in their communities. And Harley here, also come over here, brother Harley. He has been, you know, this guy's been a father figure to a lot of us, you know what I mean? I can call him daddy, you know what I mean? Hey, come here, daddy. Oh, you don't want to be a daddy now? I know you've been dying those grades. Because I got more than you and I shouldn't have.
I don't want your jacket.
All right. But anyway, as I said, you know, this has been a grueling campaign, and we're glad that we've got it up to this stage here. It's been a hard struggle, you know, and when I seen that building, that's for sale sign on that building, it troubled me, and it really did. You know, because I did know and I was aware of that there were certain activities taking place and certain people trying to do something. I don't know exactly what they was trying to do, but it didn't seem to be the right thing. Because we don't know how to do what we're doing now. But anyway, we've got the attention that we needed, and we have got the potential that we need, and we are going to push forward, and we're going to make sure that the Nello James Centre will be returned to its former glory. If you can save the likes of Haversage Road swimming baths and put that back to its former glory, then surely any building can be raised up. The technology we have today, we can support any building and reinforce it and regenerate it. You know, the builders have the technology to do that. You've seen it all over the place. Victorian buildings brought to their former glory. And this is what we intend to do also with the Nello James Centre, and with the help of all of the community and the councillors and all the people who matter within this community. Thank you for turning up here today. We will seek to assemble a real trusted trust, a trust. What is trust is supposed to be?
Yeah.
The real meaning of the word trust. And trust is a serious thing, you know. And trust me, we don't do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramir, our community.
Give it the mic to the singer.
Hi everyone. Hi. I'd just like to say thank you.
Don't be shy.
Come on. Come on, Misha, man.
Misha, be who you keep. Misha, be.
I can't quite find the right words to say.
Beautiful,
Oh, pirates, yes, they are by, sold I to the merchant ships, minutes after they took I from that bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hands of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help me sing, sing now, now, these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had is redemption song. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it, but we got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing, sing now, now, these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have, redemption song, redemption song. God bless you all.
The time is nearly 7 o'clock, and unfortunately the meeting, this event, in terms of Selma, is going to be drawing to a close because Selma has to catch a train about 7:25, so she needs to leave. But we've got plenty of food, we've got plenty of people, the community's here, we need to talk. We've got some counsellors from Wally Range, yeah? Excellent. Okay, lovely. Okay, we have an extra 12-15 minutes, so we can use them for any questions. So if anybody's got any questions they would like to ask Selma, or would like to speak on the issue, you can do. You know what's going to happen? I'm asking, and everybody's like, I'm not going to be the first person, yeah? And then in about 10 minutes, everybody's going to want to speak. Okay, Mr. Mike Marsh here. Mike is a very important person to Nello James. Sorry, because for years he has been caretaking and been doing a lot of this off his own back. So I think we should all give Mike a massive, massive, massive round of applause.
Even all. I could be negative, because there's a lot of negative things Yes. However, I'm going to be really positive. It's just fantastic. And we've got Selma's wife here. We've got a lot of hard-working people who decide to give up their time. And I think the problem we've had over the past decades is that because we had a need, then we all did a piece of work together. That need has moved away from us. Our children don't really use the services that we thought. Right? So we've become a bit negative in that sense. However, I'm extremely amazed, A, to see the amount of effort people are putting into trying to save Nello James, and B, for all you guys coming here tonight. I'm going to really pray hard that we can keep this together.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I didn't really want to get involved. However, my arm and my heart has been twisted. And we'll volunteer any help that people want. Okay?
Thank you. Would anybody else like to say anything? Okay. 1945, which was 70 years ago, Manchester held the 1945 5th Pan-African Congress. Don't know. And this year is the 70th anniversary of that Congress. And I think it's fitting, though unfortunate, that we are actually fighting for the centre of CLR James to stay in the community. CLR James was the Pan-Africanist, and in 1945 the conference was here, and we had at that particular time a number of Pan-Africanists from around the world, from the Caribbean, from Africa, and also from America, as well as the UK and Europe, talking about issues pertaining to us as Africans on the globe here. And I just think that it's fitting in the 70th anniversary, when we're going to be commemorating that time, that we as a community in Manchester are coming together once again to show the power and the energy and the love and the passion that we have for the community, not just for the community today, but for the community and the generations to come. I do believe that Selma is going to be taking her leave now, so I think please, if we stand and give Selma a massive, massive round of applause and show our appreciation for the fact that she has taken time out of her busy schedule and has given us good time today. Viva la revolution!
I have to say, I was sitting here thinking, what would the CLR think of all this? And I have to tell you, he would have just loved it. He stood for the grassroots, taking our rights and brooking no interference. And he would just, and especially the saltfish cakes.
There you go, Lord.
But he would have loved you, and he would have loved him too.
Thank you.
Anybody want to stay behind? We don't want this food to go rotten. We've prepared a lot of food. So you want to stay behind and, fill your stomach to your desire, then so be it. Communicate with each other. This is what it's about, community. So, we're going to take Selma back. We don't want to be late for a train. But please enjoy the food that we've put out. There's warm food there, there's soup. There's everything you need, so please eat to your fill. This is the first soup kitchen for Nello James.
Come on, you. What about me? I don't get in pictures. No, getting that. Beautiful. We need to see
Can you just get a picture of Selma, darling?
Are you sure you're getting everybody? You get some
Is it a picture taken or video?
I can. Is it video? Mine?
Yeah.
Like that. Selfie!
So make sure you let us know. Yeah.
Come on, they're doing a selfie.
Selfies.
Selfie. Oh, I think I'll get
Where's the selfie, Martin? Unity in the community. Let's get someone.
Thank you all for attending. Please take advantage of this beautiful food. Councillors, community members, we are one. We see our need as one.
Here we go. Is everyone smiling? One more. Let's get against this wall. If you stand look at me, folks. That's it. Keep it there. Keep it there. Smile, guys. Keep it there. Keep it there. I think that's a good one. You want one more? No, we're going to get a selfie this time. Okay, okay.
We should have done that 1 years ago instead of organizing meetings. These guys should have been working on. And we make sure that
You know what it is?